Hi, this is Lindsay, one of the co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hey, it's Baxter Colburn here from Public House Media. Did you know that we just added a store here at Public House Media? No, I'm not talking about a grocery store where you can go buy apples or bananas or peanut butter, which are all fantastic, especially when peanut butter's on all of those. Anyway, we've added a store here at Public House Media so you can not only come and represent your favorite podcast network, but also represent your favorite shows as well, too. Just go over to thepHmedia.com and look in the top right corner where you'll see the button that says Store. Click on that and you can search through all of our great products. Or if you go to our Facebook page, Public House Media, you can see on the left-hand side a tab that says Store. All of our products are listed there as well too. It's the new Public House Media store. You don't want to miss it. It is fantastic. Buy some of that great swag to support your favorite shows and to support Public House Media. Check it out today.
This is Ezekiel Drews, host of Podcast, A Star Wars Story, here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Podcast, A Star Wars Story, where we talk about anything and everything Star Wars. A new show comes out bi-monthly. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Podcast, A Star Wars Story. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Throughout history, the course of sports has been shaped by one thing: the fans.
From the moments you never dreamed of,
Bobby Womack has saved the USA's life in this World Cup! Paul, the runner! Loose ball! It's good! Gonzaga! The flipper still fits!
To the moments that still give you nightmares.
Behind the bag! It gets through Butler! Here comes Knight and the Mets win it! He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth!
through the good and the bad, fans have helped change the games we watch and the players we love.
They may not be the most logical people.
You are a factory of sadness! I'll see you Sunday.
But they know their teams better than anybody.
They'll blow in the ninth.
You may not always see them, but you know where to find them.
After all, there's nothing quite like the view from the cheap seats.
Broadcasting is part of the Public House Media Network.
Grab a chair and enjoy all there is in
The cheap seats.
Oh, that's correct. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome way up high where the air is rarefied in the cheap seats on this beautiful Friday, April 20th, 2018. Broadcasting as part of the Public House Media. Filling in for our vacationing leader, Baxter Colburn, I'm Christian Heimel, along with Matt Coyne. Matt, gracious enough to let me sit in the chair here this week and be part of the show. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm glad to have you along on this Friday. It's I miss Baxter, but I'm so glad that you could be part of this, and I'm excited for today's show. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, today's going to be a lot of fun because we've already gotten the show. You know, if you're just listening, we're not even literally 40 seconds into the show, and already we've gotten some backlash because today's show is going to center. Obviously, we're going to talk about the biggest headlines in sports, but today's show is going to center around this draft that you and I kind of devised up the other night. You and Baxter have been doing this on Fridays the last couple of weeks. I know last week you guys did like your best quarterbacks or whatever it was, something like that, like top 10 quarterbacks.
I took all the starting quarterbacks, I put them into a randomizer, and we just picked the first 10 that came out, and we drafted a team of 5.
And a couple of weeks ago, you guys did like the best sports trophy, which I can't
Correct,
remember. Did the Stanley Cup go number 1 overall?
You know what? We did not put team. We did not put team award. Yes, it was just individual award. So that's what so many people were like, "What?"
Correct.
Correct. Yes, I took that number 1. Okay. Obviously. So
today's draft is going to center around in our opinion, the best sports video game of all time. Now, what we've done is we've taken 16 classic video games from the last 35 years of video games. Spanning decades, spanning sports, and we've taken 16. We put those 16 up on Facebook yesterday for our fans and our listeners to take a look at. And I kid you not, Matt, within maybe 30 seconds of that picture going up with the 16 covers that we chose, we already got backlash for not including certain video games. So we've already upset the masses today, only being maybe a minute and a half into the show.
I mean, this might be the most debated topic in sports history.
This might be the most debated topic in America right now. Like, I don't understand how. I don't understand why Jake Tapper hasn't called us already and to ask us about this. Why Wolf Blitzer isn't dealing with this issue. So
I
these
agree.
are the type of things that America really needs to have answered. So we're going to get to that coming up in a little bit. And as a tribute to that, because let's be honest, if there's one thing we love more than watching sports, it's pretending like we're the actual athlete and winning championships on video games. In tribute to our sports video games, we're going to have, when you hear rejoins as we come back from breaks, you're going to hear some classic songs from those video games. And they may not be directly from them, but you know them from the video games. So, like, for instance, I mean, I went to high school outside of Baltimore, so Good Charlotte was obviously a band that a lot of folks knew, but the anthem is clearly from Madden 2004. It's not from Good Charlotte, it's from Madden. Like, let's be honest.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if you play that, I will tell you it's Madden over Good Charlotte. So.
Exactly. So, well, before we get into all that, let's get into some of the biggest headlines that we have going on. The first one that I noticed, which was kind of interesting, woke up yesterday morning and saw the headline, Reds fire Brian Price after a 3-15 start to the season. This is his 5th year with the Cincinnati Reds. They fired him on an off day, thank goodness. That's helpful. But the problem was they were in St. Louis, so now he's got to go back to Cincinnati before his team starts. They were on a long road trip anyway. They had back-to-back losses in Milwaukee, where they were shut out shut out in back-to-back games for the first time since 2015. It's really hard in today's Major League Baseball to get shut out in back-to-back games. Yet the Reds somehow find a way to do that, and they fire Brian Price after a 3-15 start.
Yeah, I mean it's impressive. He's 279 and 387 in his 5 years there. In his 5th season. When I saw this yesterday morning, I was so surprised. Don't get me wrong, 3-15 is a horrendous start,
right?
But I mean, they're 10%. They're not even. I wanted to be exact. They're 9.8% into the season. I mean, that's like an NFL team. Now I know they're two different sports. That's like an NFL team firing a coach after they lost one game.
Yeah.
And now, don't get me wrong. Have the Reds done anything in the last 5 years? No, not really. But I feel like
here's my problem with that. I mean, they haven't done much, but when you look at their roster, there's nobody there. I mean, they listen. You've got now. I'll say this: their lineup should be a lot better. They should be doing a lot for having guys like Joey Votto, who is to many the best first baseman in the game.
Agree. Yeah.
Eugenio Suarez, who was a tremendous top prospect with the Reds before with the Yankees before the Reds got him. I believe that was part of the Aroldis Chapman deal a couple of years ago. Scooter Gennett is he's kind of hit or miss. I mean, he's sitting on my bench in fantasy for a reason, because he's a great guy to put in randomly, and he's a Cincinnati kid. But, I mean, Billy Hamilton, remember Billy Hamilton when he first came up? We're like, oh, my God, this guy's he's going to be the next Ricky Henderson. That was the whole talk about him. But I look at the rest of this squad, and there's nobody. Homer Bailey's your best pitcher. That's not good. Homer Bailey and Kevin Quackenbush, who, by the way...
Yeah, what a name.
Yeah.
I've always liked that name.
But, like, he's been nobody for years. I mean, and Homer Bailey's 31. I understand you got to fire somebody when something like this happens, but this is a bigger issue than Brian Price, in my opinion. This goes up into the front office. This goes up to Dick Williams, the general manager of the Cincinnati Reds, who, I mean, he's been in now for, this is his 3rd year, I think, as the Reds GM. So at some point, if this season doesn't go, if there's no improvement whatsoever and they continue to be a cellar dweller in last place in the National League Central, Dick Williams has to be fired too, I believe, at the end of the year.
Yeah, the Reds haven't really done anything since 2013. Now, Dusty Baker, he was done after that, but
right.
They're not giving him anything. And now I'm not trying to take blame away from Brian Price or anything like that. I mean, you're the manager. You're
the one who puts the lineup card together. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I understand all that, but you're 100% right, Christian, that there's nothing there for him. Billy Hamilton, I mean, he like you said, I mean, he was just, I hated as being a Central, following Central. I can't talk the Central so much. Watching him every single time he got on base against the Pirates. I'm like, well, he's going to steal second and third, and you can't take that away from him and expect him. Now that's just one player. You can't take these players away from him and expect him to do anything with it. It's really. He is in the same situation, I feel like, as Clint Hurdle and Christian. I'm sorry, you got to put up with my Pittsburgh stuff being on
it's
Friday.
Okay. When we get to the NHL is when I'll really get mad at you. It's fine.
Okay. So it's like Clint Hurdle. Last year it's fire Hurdle. I'm like, it's not really all his fault. Same with Brian Price here. So.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, it's the same way in any organization. I mean, yes, the manager and the coach, they put the lineup together, but at some point, I mean, I'll still use this quote till the day I die. Bill Parcells, if they want you to cook dinner, they better let you shop for some of the groceries. That's the issue, is there's nobody there on that team for Brian Price to put together other than Joey Votto. Now, here's what I will say, because, I mean, a couple of years ago, they got rid of Brandon Phillips, they got rid of, oh my goodness, now the name's blanking here, their third baseman, who they went and got rid of. Well, then, I mean, they got rid of Jay Bruce, and there's
Todd
so
Frazier.
much. Todd Frazier, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Wow, how did I forget the Todd father? Anyway, when you look at this squad, here's the thing that jumps out to me and what this says to me, number one. If you're a team that needs a first baseman come the trade deadline, Joey Votto might be available. So that's what this kind of screams to me, is that Joey Votto is going to be available at the trade deadline. And if you're a team like, let's say, the New York Mets, for instance, who are looking for that last final piece potentially to do something here, or you're looking at maybe the Washington Nationals. Now they're not going to get rid of Ryan Zimmerman, of course, or the LA Dodgers. There are a number of teams that you could really look at that Joey Votto is going to be available. There's a championship team out there. Hell, Pittsburgh might be a team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to trade within the division, but if Pittsburgh continues the way they're going, they could be in the market for someone, just that last final piece, that Justin Verlander towards the end of the year, so to speak. So it's unfortunate for Brian Price, but I mean, Jim Riggleman is going to be the manager for the rest of the year, and that's kind of one of the things that I just kind of am a little. My ears have kind of perked up when I saw that, because now I wonder about the future of guys like Joey Votto and Scooter Gennett, Billy Hamilton, Homer Bailey, even where they could end up. So you never know what's going to happen there. Matt Coyne, Christian Eimel here with you in the Cheap Seats Broadcasting as part of Public House Media. Matt, what's one of the stories that kind of caught your attention here?
This one has nothing to do with sports, but I don't know. Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
Almost $50,000 worth of, are you ready for this? Tractors were stolen from his home. One, why does an NBA player or a former NBA player have $50,000 worth of tractors? That's my first question.
That's impressive.
Two, how do you steal them? I mean, tractors aren't quiet, Christian.
No, they're not.
If they started I just thought this was so interesting. I don't understand how this is possible.
Yeah. Now, granted, he is from Arkansas, so it's not that strange for him to have tractors. I guess it's not that strange at all. Went to Central Arkansas. Obviously, it was the 5th overall pick. But so here's the thing: I live in Davenport, Iowa. Which, if you know anything about Iowa, if you know one thing about Iowa, there's corn. So tractors are a big thing out here, because just across the river, the Mississippi River in Moline, Illinois, is the headquarters of John Deere. John Deere's headquarters here in this area. So tractors are a big. I mean, and I've seen some $50,000 tractors. So I mean, that's impressive. That, number one, you're right that he has them. But I mean, more impressively is how did they get them out? Because I mean, they're very, very loud. Even the small, quiet like lawnmowers are very loud. So I don't know how they got rid of that.
Yeah, it's impressive, but that's a cool head. Something like that just really catches your eye. Scottie Pippen's tractor stolen. It's what?
And the fact that there's 50,000 of them, $50,000 worth, like that's And you would think for a guy who is the NBA all-time steals leader, he'd be able to prevent something from getting stolen. So You'd think for a guy being as defensively talented as Scottie Pippen was, he'd be able to prevent that. So, anyway,
you would think so.
Yeah. One last thing we want to get to here in this first segment, and then when we return, we're going to talk NBA playoffs, some NHL stuff, and then we're going to get to the most controversial topic in America, the sports video game draft upcoming here in just a little bit. But this one kind of it shocked me, and then it infuriated me as soon as I saw it. So, unfortunately, and I'm going to give this caveat here. On Wednesday night, it was announced that Erin Popovich, the wife of Spurs head coach Greg Popovich, passed away at 67 following complications from an illness she'd been battling for a long time. And, of course, our hearts go out to Pop and the Spurs family and really the NBA family because, I mean, it is a huge brotherhood there and family in the NBA. And Popovich is so well respected in his 20-plus years. But here's what bothered me. So Wednesday night, I'm sitting there and I'm just watching some highlights. I didn't watch any of the NBA games because my Celtics weren't playing, so I didn't really care that much. I was watching NHL playoffs instead.
Okay.
But I'm watching highlights and I see this, and I see Allie LaForce on TNT asking LeBron James his thoughts after the win, after Cleveland won Game 2, and asking about Greg Popovich, any thoughts or words he'd like to say to Popovich after the passing of his wife. And my first reaction was, I don't know if that's a great question to be asking following a win. I was like, all right, that's probably not what I would have done. Turns out that she had mentioned that to LeBron beforehand, that she was going to ask that. And then I was like, okay, fine. If she mentions it to him and says, hey, because I've done this before. I've been a sports reporter. I've been an anchor, and I've interviewed athletes in very tough situations. And one of the things I've always said before we even go live is this is what I'm going to ask you about. I've always said that. And if they're not comfortable, they'll tell me and I move on. So the fact that Allie did that and the Twitter backlash that she got from people, even after she said I had asked him about it before we went on the air to make sure he was comfortable, that was what kind of disgusted me, is the fact that people were getting upset. LeBron even came to her aid. Ernie Johnson on TNT came to her aid. I don't get how people were getting upset about that. LeBron is, whether you like him or not, the face of the NBA, whether you like it or not. And a situation like that, while it may not need his comment, it kind of warrants it almost. I mean, you saw Kevin Durant the same way. Kevin Durant was the same way during practice for the Golden State Warriors when they were about to play the Spurs. So it's for people to get upset at Allie LaForce really kind of bothered me there.
Yeah, I love that LeBron came out and put the video up, and it was all over Twitter. That shows a lot for his character. I like that he pretty much just said, "Lay off of her." We talked about this beforehand, and I guess my thing is. Okay, like you said, Christian, I understand if people get upset if she just blindsided him with it, but lay off. I mean, she was a professional about it. As you said, that's something you would do. That's something you do. I don't understand why people are getting so upset about it. It doesn't really make sense to me. As you said, Pop is huge in the NBA family, in this brotherhood, and this really struck the whole entire NBA family really hard, and as it should. Yeah. So and she asked, as you said, the face of the NBA,
right?
How do you feel about this?
And here's the important part. I mean, when you follow, if anybody follows the NBA, you know that it's not just the players, the coaches, it's the media that is a big family too. I mean, look at what happened with Craig Sager. With Holly Rowe, when they had to step away from their jobs because of cancer, the entire league got behind those people. The players and everybody came back. So it's a big family. And Allie LaForce, who's from Ohio, who knows LeBron very well, obviously went to what she would consider probably a friend and a family member and said, hey, listen, this is what I'm going to ask you. Are you okay with it? And LeBron, being who he is, said, yes, of course, absolutely. And so good on LeBron and good on Allie for being professional in that way. And all these people who are hating on her for no reason are keyboard warriors. That's a conversation that'll just be. We could go for 80 minutes. I could rant for 80 minutes about people getting upset behind their keyboards. So, but we won't do that here. We're going to get on to bigger and better stuff when we come back. NBA playoffs are in full force, as we mentioned. LeBron and the Cavs did end up tying up their series with the Indiana Pacers. Is everything okay in Cleveland? Is everything not okay in Houston with the Rockets? Could there be some trouble there in their first-round matchup? And then, of course, tonight you've got Toronto and Washington and Boston and Milwaukee, two teams going for 3-0 series leads. It's all coming up. Christian and I will fill in for Baxter Colburn along with Matt Coyne here on this Friday, April 20th, way up in the cheap seats.
This is Sam Kirby, host of Cinema Stories here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Cinema Stories, where we hang out and just talk movie and TV news and reviews, and it's awesome. A new show comes out every single Tuesday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Cinema Stories. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
I feel like this is a song that should play every Friday, no matter what. Party Hard, Andrew WK.
I agree.
It's just one of those, like, this is, of course, Madden 2003. This was actually, if I remember correctly, this was actually the song that played once you turned the game on.
I was just going to say, this makes me want to go pull out my PlayStation 2 and just play all day and worry. Just forget about all my troubles.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Oh, man. My wife is going to be really upset. Yeah, my wife is going to be upset because I'm going to go home and just say, listen, I'm going to go play video games for the rest of the day.
Yeah, so, well, that's the, I mean, for me, so, like, my girlfriend, when we moved in together, I had an N64 and a Nintendo Wii, and she had a PS2. And I'm like, can we get a PS4? Like, can we get a PS4 so that we can play some of the updated games? She goes, no, I like my PS2. I'm like, fine, then you better be prepared for me spending all my time playing the old school PS2 games. So... Yeah. And then Fortnite caught crazy, and now she wants to get a PS4 to play Fortnite. But whatever. Anyway,
there you go. Yeah.
We'll get to our sports video game draft coming up in a little bit. Of course, an ode there to one of the best soundtracks ever in Madden 2003 there. Christian Imel filling in for Baxter Colburn along with Matt Coyne inside the Cheap Seats on Public House Media. Hey, don't forget, go to our website, thephmedia.com. And on the right-hand side of the banner up top, you'll find our store, which has some great Cheap Seats gear, including T-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, because you need a sweatshirt when you're all the way up in the Cheap Seats because it's cold and windy up there. Hats, coffee mugs. So go to the store, check us out, help support the show. Anything that you guys buy from there, the profits from that go right back into growing this show and continuing to make it as awesome as it is. So we appreciate you guys doing that. We also appreciate if you guys subscribe, rate, review, and share us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com. Of course, you can check us out on thephmedia.com as well. Let's get to the hardwood and some actual games that have happened. The Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, going and tying their series the other night on Wednesday with a 3-point win over the Pacers. They'll play tonight in Game 3. That is in Indiana, though. The biggest question I guess I have, Matt, I mean, is there cause for concern considering you lose Game 1 and then you have to sneak out a win in Game 2 if you're LeBron?
Yeah, of course, LeBron comes through and takes over that game, 46 points. And I understand what you're saying. It's, even with all of that, they still only won by 3. And I have concern. I think Cleveland's still going to pull it out, but I think they've been shocked by what Indiana has been doing. And that first game, I think kind of, I think it just kind of was a 2x4 to the head for them, and they realized, oh, Indiana's coming to play. Of course they're coming to play. I mean, this is the playoffs. But there's slight concern, I would say, on a concern radar, or on a scale 1 to 10. I'm probably about at a 6 for Cleveland because I think a lot of people are surprised what Indiana has brought, and I think so is Cleveland. I
mean, yeah, Victor Oladipo is great, but here's the thing. And I was talking, I'm going to do a shameless plug here because for those of you who don't know about, on the Friday show, on Thursdays, there's a show called Press Row that I host where I talk to a bunch of, writers and analysts and whatnot. And yesterday I had Keith Irizarry, the host of Calling the Shots with Keith Irizarry on NBC Sports Radio. We were talking about this, and everybody that I've talked to and that he's talked to, the Pacers aren't going to shoot 40% from 3 every single game, and they didn't do that in Game 2.
Correct.
They shot 20%, 27% from 3. They turned the ball over 17 times. Yes, they still shot better from the floor, 52%, but they're not going to have that kind of outing all the time. Do I think that Indiana is going to have a boost at home in Game 3? Of course I do. I think they probably win Game 3, honestly. But I think eventually this series goes 6 games, and I think Cleveland ends up pulling it out. But I wouldn't be concerned at all if you're Cleveland. I would be maybe nervous. Not I wouldn't be concerned though. I'd definitely be a little bit nervous.
The Kevin Love injury, that they say he'll be fine, but what do you think about that?
I mean, if Kevin Love was more of a factor during the regular season, now once he finally came back late in the year, he was a little bit of a factor when they started to turn things around. But if he was more involved in a much more, a bigger factor, then I'd probably be a little bit more afraid of that. But again, you got the best player in the game in LeBron James. You're gonna be okay, in my opinion. So now listen, if this series goes 7, oh my God, be scared. Like if this game goes 7, look out. So because the last thing you want to do is have a team that looking for something to prove in Indiana and a team that's nervous in Cleveland going against each other in Game 7. So that's just a bad mix if you're the Cavs. So a couple other games tonight. 2 series that teams are hoping to go up 3-0. The Washington Wizards trying to stave off a 3-0 deficit at home against Toronto here tonight in Game 3. And then my Boston Celtics on the road after a tough game, barely getting a win in overtime in Game 1. They blow out Milwaukee in Game 2. Jaylen Brown goes off for 30. And now on the road, Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks will try to get on the scoreboard here. Which team, Matt, do you think is more likely to actually win tonight, the Wizards or the Bucks?
I would say probably the Bucks. I think last week Baxter's bold prediction was that he thinks that Bucks will get swept, lose 4-0. But I think they're a team that definitely has the talent. The talent, especially Greek Freak. I always have to pause when I say that. I think that obviously. When he's on the court, he's arguably the best player on the court. I think that they still have a chance of squeaking one out. I do see them squeaking one out. Are they going to win the series? Absolutely not. But I do see them squeaking one out. And if they're going to do it, they got to do it in one of the next 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting to watch here. I would probably agree with you in the sense that it would be the Bucks. And it's so strange to think, like I said this last week when the playoffs began, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see if the Bucks win this series, but that's just because of how injury-riddled Boston is. And but like I said about the Pacers just a moment ago, this is a Celtics team that is a young squad looking for something to prove. Now, the Bucks are the same way, but in the same breath, the Bucks have had their star players. It's not like they're sitting there going, "Oh, everybody's counting us out because so and so's injured." It'd be different if the Greek Freak was injured or Chris Middleton was injured. It'd be different in that sense. But because they're not in that situation, Boston, I think, has a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder since everybody's counting them out without Hayward and Kyrie Irving. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that would be that'd be huge. So, I mean, I think the Bucks do probably get this win at home just because of that emotion at home. But you always got to be wary of that. And then Toronto, I think Toronto has actually kind of proved me wrong. I was a little unsure about how they were going to handle Washington because this was a Wizards squad that without John Wall, who was injured for so long, kind of scuffled down the stretch and only made the playoffs because the East is garbage. But, if John Wall had been healthy all year, Washington might be playing Cleveland in this 4-5 matchup, or might even be playing Miami as the 3 seed. I mean, who knows? So I'm a little bit more surprised of how well Toronto has done, and I actually, I mean, I'll kind of spoil it here, but I think Toronto ends up sweeping this series here this weekend and closing it out on Sunday. But we'll get to that later on in the show. I guess the only other real things to talk about here, I mean, with the NBA. Obviously, Golden State, and we talked about Greg Popovich and the loss of his wife, and family comes first, and personal affairs come first. It'd be really disappointing to see San Antonio bow out so quickly just because of how talented they've been for so long. And what really concerns me about San Antonio here is this whole Kawhi Leonard saga. Like, legitimately, Kawhi Leonard could be done playing basketball in San Antonio.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching San Antonio. I've always enjoyed seeing just with Pop, seeing what they do in the playoffs. And I agree with you. It's sad. I think they're going to bow out quick. It just seems like Golden State just is handling them pretty easy these first 2 games. And the sick thing is that's still without no Curry, which that's just scary to know that's that's without him. So I would love to see them make this a series. I just don't see it happen. And yeah, and with Leonard, it's, we're on the LeBron watch, but I think next year we're going to be on that, on watching to see where he ends up going too. Because I agree, I don't think he could have played his last game with San Antonio.
Yeah, I firmly believe that. So, and you mentioned without Curry, and that's why I think there should be some cause for concern in Houston. I know the Rockets handled Minnesota well the other night, and were completely fine with it. Beat them by 20 after they barely snuck one out in Game 1 after James Harden had a terrible game, but he rebounds nicely. And tomorrow night in Game 3 in Minnesota, if you're Houston, you 100% need to sweep this series because you want to try to get that second-round matchup started before Steph Curry shows up.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance that Steph Curry could show up in like Game 3 or 4, and if you're up 2-0 already on this Golden State team, it's a lot easier than if Steph Curry comes back because you dropped a couple games in Minnesota and he's there for the series opener. So it's that's my only cause for concern if I'm Houston going into this weekend is like, guys, if we don't do this now, we might have to deal with Steph Curry and a fully healthy Golden State team, and that's just not fun to deal with.
Yeah, I 100% agree. They need to take care of it quick because, like you said, you don't want to mess with him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We know from history, and they're already, it seems like they're unstoppable without him. So when he comes back, I just don't. We were talking last week when we had you on the show. I asked you any concern with San Antonio upsetting them, just because the way they always come into the playoffs, and it just seems that people are saying Golden State's not as good as they have been in the past, and it just seems like they are. It seems like they are taking care of business the way they need to.
Definitely. And one other game going on tomorrow that we'll find a little bit more about in the series is obviously Oklahoma City and Utah. Series tied 1 apiece there. And, Utah with a nice road win, that's got to give them some momentum coming home here this weekend for Saturday and Monday's contest. And not just a home win or a road win, but, they won by 7 points. And I know 7 isn't a lot to people, but that was a bigger win than a lot of people expected because Donovan Mitchell went nuts in the fourth quarter. 13 of his 28 points in Utah for Utah to win that game and pull that series even. And here's the insane part: Utah out-rebounded Oklahoma City 65-54.
Wow.
Now, granted, Oklahoma City only shot 31% from 3 with Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George. That's not going to happen all the time. But this has been an Oklahoma City team that has just been a concern the entire year, so who knows what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend.
So a lot of games going up. We'll get to our predictions for the weekend coming up in just a little bit. When we return, I don't want to wait any longer. We got to get to it. We'll talk NHL playoffs in a little bit here, but when we come back, it is going to be the hottest debated topic in America. It's the video game sports draft. You've seen it on Facebook. You've been yelling at us for the last 24 hours. So we'll get to it here coming up in the Cheap Seats.
This is Ryan Pierce, host of Completely Serious here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Completely Serious, where we talk about sports and have fun with great guests. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Completely Serious. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
If you recognize this theme song, you're clearly, well, first off, you're clearly of the generation that Matt and I are. Number one. Number two, you clearly had some awesome taste in video games. This, of course, the intro to NHL 94 on Sega. What a tremendous game.
Yes, it was another just waste of my life.
Yeah,
playing this game.
And listen, if we had like smartphones in 1994, that would have been everybody's ringtone. That would have been everyone's ringtone. That exact
and I'm not going to spoil it, but I'd like to know how many people knew the glitch in that game. I'm sure more people than I think, but we'll talk about that when whoever drafts that game. So But that was such a good game.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's get to it here. People have been yelling at us for a very long time. Let's see here. We've got our top, our all-time sports video game draft here. We've got 16 video games that we have decided to draft. Now, listen, folks. You guys have inspired us on social media to change our poll question. We were going to go with something along the lines of, I don't know, like, is 18 games too early to fire a manager? We were going to go something like that. But because you guys have yelled at us, here are the 16 video games that we're gonna go for here. We're going to draft, all right? NHL Hits, number 1, which, by the way, I still love that game just because you can make goalies fight, which is great. 3-on-3, make goalies fight. It was awesome. Tony Hawk Pro Skater for N64. ESPN's NFL 2K5. NCAA Football 04. We got to make sure it's important to say 04 there, the one with Carson Palmer on the cover. Backyard Baseball. Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest on N64. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Old school but awesome. Tecmo Super Bowl. Bo Jackson. FIFA 2010. Blades of Steel. Another old school awesome NHL game.
Blades of Steel. Sorry. I'm sorry.
NBA 2K11, NHL Hockey 94, like we had our theme song joining us back in here. Madden 2006 with Donovan McNabb on the cover. Tiger Woods 2012, the Masters for Wii. I have to make that distinction, for the Wii. And NBA Jam. So, those are our 16. We got a lot of people yelling at us that we left out a couple of things, a couple of video games. And we could, listen, we could do a whole show on this if we really wanted to. We could do a whole week on this if we really wanted to. But what we'll say is we went with 16 classics. They may not be the greatest, but again, some of the greatest things don't get drafted, like James Harrison and Eddie Balfour and Bruce Bowen. So, all of that stuff. That being said, our poll question today, who is the biggest snub from our draft? Of the 16 that we included, which ones should have been included? Is it MVP Baseball 2005 or Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey? Go to our Facebook page, The Cheap Seats by Public House Media, and vote. What was the biggest snub in our draft? That being said, Commissioner Coyne, take it away.
So I get the first pick here, huh?
Yeah, why not? We'll give you the. Listen, we're on your home court. It's Friday. Okay. It's your home court. You'll get the first pick here.
Oh. So I'll be honest with you. I'm going to pick my team just from my heart, my biggest time wasters in life.
Okay.
So my number 1 pick in the video game draft is going to be Tecmo Super Bowl.
Ooh,
because Bo Jackson could run for 500 yards in a game if you did the outside sweep down to the bottom of the screen every time.
Yep, exactly. All right, so I'm a little happy you did that because to me, in my mind, there were 3 number 1 picks and you didn't take one there. So I'm actually really happy about that. I'm gonna. So now with the number 2 pick, this is really tough, man, because there are these 3 that I'm debating between are like near and dear to my heart and my childhood and what will be my grandchildren's childhood. Yeah, it would be my grandkids' childhood if I have the ability to. But you can't have a greatest sports video game without the greatest athlete of all time. So, Pablo Sanchez and Backyard Baseball, welcome to the squad. My number 1, my pick there for my team. All right, so I got Pablo Sanchez and Backyard Baseball there, number 2.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to keep going here from the heart. And another big time waster for me, and I think you might be upset with this one, but maybe not. Is going to be Tiger Woods 2012.
That hurts.
I wasted so much. I remember playing that game and then going out golfing. And Christian, I'm not joking with you, throwing my clubs across the course because I went, why can't I shoot 15 under when I could do it at Augusta?
This game, first off, it was the first time that the Masters was allowed to be on the video game. First time of that you could play Augusta National. And I'll tell you this real quick. In 2011, my first job out of college, I was working for a summer league baseball team in Vermont. And we had our first 4 games postponed because of weather. And I was bored out of my mind. and didn't have a video game system with the host family I was living with. So I went to Walmart and bought a Nintendo Wii specifically to buy this game that I still have, and it is the only game I still play on the Wii is that game. So that one hurts. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. So let's see. Jeez, now. All right. Listen, I don't care what anybody says. N64 is the greatest video game system ever. Will always be that in my mind. And the game that transcended that, it didn't matter, the sports game that transcended that, it didn't matter whether you actually watched it or not, but everybody wanted to be Tony Hawk in the 90s. So I'm going Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
That is a great. I look at this list and I think, Matt, you wasted so much time in your life.
Yeah, same.
Same. Great pick. All right, so my next one is going to be probably the biggest time waster of my life, and I think this is going to go higher than you are expecting.
Okay.
But I am going with NCAA football 2004.
All right.
And Darren Sproles and Kansas State.
Yeah.
I would be up until 3 o'clock in the morning playing online on my PS2 and doing the triple option, and it was unstoppable. It was just absolutely unstoppable.
Now, did they have the campus legend mode yet, or was that 2009 when they finally brought that out? I can't remember.
That was they didn't have that in 2004.
Oh, because I love that version.
Think.
So maybe that's why I have it so far down on my draft board. But okay, all right. And because Carson Palmer's on it, and I hate USC. But anyway, all right. So I'm really surprised that I'm going to get all 3 of my number 1 picks here. So I'm
glad.
I'm going to go with the one that really it transcended video games and went into actual culture, because if you've ever been to college and you've been to a party, you've heard these 4 words, or these 5 words, I should say: heating up and he's on fire. NBA Jams coming to the squad here with my 3rd pick. If you've ever been to a college party, you've heard heating up before.
Yeah, I mean, to that pick, I have to say boom shakalaka. That's all I'll say. It's the great pick, yeah. That was. I mean, you could play as Bill Clinton. I mean, that's
exactly
how many.
You
games
couldn't play
as
Jordan, but you could play as Bill Clinton. Exactly.
All right. So far the 3 our teams. We got Tecmo Super Bowl, Tiger Woods, NCAA football for me. You have backyard baseball, Tony Hawk, NBA Jam.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with another classic, Mike Tyson Punch-Out.
There you go. That's a good one to go with. That's one of those ones that when you finally realize, if you didn't play it as a kid, when you finally realize that you're 13, 14 years old and you finally realize how awesome it was, you're like, why didn't I play this more? Why didn't I have this?
I'm going to do a shout out to my brother. My brother is the only person I know who can beat Mike Tyson every single time. Yeah, nice. He found the way to beat him, and he'll pull it out, and every once in a while just beat him. So yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do this one as an homage to all the people who are mad that we didn't have MVP Baseball 05 on this list, because I remember playing this game on N64 because he's the kid. He wore the backwards hat, and the home run derby as part of this game was awesome. Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest.
Great pick. Yeah.
All right, so there we go. That's my number 4. So we're halfway through here.
Yes. So I'm writing these down as we do, just so we know what we're doing here.
And don't forget, folks, I mean, you can go to our Facebook page, Cheap Seats by Public House Media, vote on the biggest snub in our draft, the ones not available in our 16, MVP Baseball 05 or Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey.
All right, my next pick, I'm going classic again. I'm staying on the staying on the classic train.
I can't be mad at it.
Yes, and I'm going to go arguably my favorite hockey game of all time, Blades of Steel.
All right.
And you got a bonus between the second and third. I don't know if you remember, but you could play Galactica in the second intermission. That was one of my favorite things. And the beginning sound of the swing, after the snap will never leave my mind.
I remember. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna go hockey here, but I'm not gonna go as classic. I'm gonna go with the more recent one on our draft board, because this was the game that my brothers and I always played, because we were getting yelled at for fighting each other, and we knew how to easily fight in this game. So NHL Hits, I'm gonna take here with my 5th pick, because again, I mean, it was just a lot. What's the best part about hockey other than scoring a bunch of goals is fighting people? So and it was 3-on-3, which was awesome.
Oh, I love those 3-on-3 games. Yeah, those were so much fun. All right, so we just had 2 hockey picks there. All right, my next one, I'm gonna pick this one. I think I got a steal here in the 6th round. I'm going FIFA 2010.
Ooh, all right.
That was a big college game. I mean, grades dropped, and there was many friendships lost over that game at my college.
It helped that the World Cup was that year, so everybody kind of got really into it. Now we have to clarify, this isn't FIFA World Cup 2010. This is just FIFA 2010.
Correct, yes. Yep.
So, no, that definitely helped. All right. I feel like there's a lot of steals late in this. But, geez, the sports video game field is just so deep. It's not even fair. All right. I can't believe there are so many of these games still available, but I'm going to surprise myself with this pick just because. Highest grossing basketball video game of all time, NBA 2K11. Michael Jordan on the cover, and that's probably why it's the highest grossing game.
Yes.
But, still awesome. Still a lot of fun. Because those 2K games, once the 2K games showed up, it changed everything.
Yeah, I agree. That definitely changed the sporting world. My next one, I have to go Madden 2006.
All right.
And the introduction of the hit stick.
Oh, God. That thing was unbelievable.
Do you remember when they tried to do that like the passing with the cone?
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest, in my opinion, that was one of the biggest fails on Madden, that cone thing.
Yeah, no, that was annoying. That was annoying. But, I mean, because, and again, this is a video game that transcended the video game. It actually went into common culture. We started saying truck stick or hit stick on ESPN primetime. They started saying on NFL Countdown. They started saying truck stick and hit stick. So, oh my goodness. All right. The only way that you could beat the hit stick was to actually slam a dude into the wall of the school you were playing next to, and still be legal. So I'm going to go NFL Street with Ricky Williams on the cover. NFL
Great
Street
pick.
was a lot of fun. It was almost as good as Blitz, where you could literally powerbomb a dude after tackling.
Yeah. So all right. So we are down to our last round. So I guess whatever I pick, you're.
Yeah, I'm saddled with the other one, which I'm not upset about.
Yeah, we have ESPN NFL 2K5, and we have what was the other one that was left?
NHL Hockey 94 is still out there.
I forgot that one was on there.
Yeah, and it's there for you in the 8th round if you really want it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you if you would have stayed quiet, I probably. But ESPN 2K5 was so good too with throw. I gotta go NHL 94 because, again, my brother and I, we got grounded so many times playing this game. And
that one hurts me not because it's NHL hockey, but because now I get stuck with Terrell Owens on the cover. Great. Woohoo! Yay! So there it is. I mean, run down the teams here. Run down the squads.
All right, we got my squad: Tecmo's Super Bowl, Tiger Woods 2012, NCAA Football 2004, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Blades of Steel, FIFA 2010, Madden 2006, NHL 94. Your team: Backyard Baseball, Tony Hawk, NBA Jam, Ken Griffey Jr., NHL Hits, NBA 2K11, NFL Street, and NFL 2K5.
Oh, man. Yeah, this was tough. And I know people are yelling at us for whatever it is. But, deal with us. Deal with it here. People, the debate will go on forever with what the greatest sports game is, as long as everybody understands that GoldenEye on N64 was the greatest video game ever made. That's all that matters. As long as we can agree on that, I don't care what you think about the other stuff. So
I think I can agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Don't forget to go to. I'm going to go play that after we're done here. Anyway, or I might go play Spyro or something on PS2. Don't forget, folks, to go to our Facebook page, The Cheap Seats by Public House Media. Vote who is the biggest snub in our draft: MVP Baseball 05 or Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey. Check that out and tell us which one you think should have been included in this draft. All right, couple minutes left in the show. When we return, we'll take a quick look at the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and, of course, our bold predictions for the weekend. It's all coming up just a little bit in the Cheap Seats.
This is Nicole Kelly, host of Loud and Proud here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Loud and Proud, where we talk about issues facing the disability community. A new show comes out weekly. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Loud and Proud. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
greatest walk-up music for the greatest video game athlete of all time, Pablo Sanchez. Dude was unreal. If a Major League Baseball player actually had this as their walk-up, I would buy their jersey every single year, like a different one every year. I don't even care.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah. I don't understand why nobody's. Well, I guess they can't use it, but if I played baseball, I'd use it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, I don't know. My girlfriend and I were having this conversation the other night. Like, how has there not been someone at this point? Because we've reached that age now. We've reached that point where our generation can play in the major leagues. If not, all the generation after us can play in the major leagues. Where how is there not a major leaguer named Pablo Sanchez? How is that not a thing? That really bothers me.
There's Pablos and there's Sanchez.
Yeah, but nobody, no family decided to name their kid. No family named Sanchez decided to name their kid Pablo and just force them to be a Major League All-Star. Like, that's just not okay. This is 2018, folks. These are the real things that need to happen.
Change your name. If you
exactly,
have to.
right? Exactly. Yeah. Change your name. Christian and I will fill in for Baxter Colburn here on this Friday, April 20th, in the Cheap Seats, broadcasting as part of the Public House Media Network. We just had our video game draft, which everybody is very mad about, and I think we're going to be on probably Good Morning America or something on Monday trying to hash it all out. Anyway, but we're going to move on and talk a little bit about NHL. There's a couple of games going on this weekend. We already have a couple of teams into the second round. Of course, the Vegas Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks advancing with sweeps in the first round. This weekend, no chance for sweeps, but a chance at least for your Pittsburgh Penguins to move on and continue their quest at a three-peat for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'm going to try so hard not to be a homer, or as I don't know if you know, I've been saying Yinzer on here.
Well,
that's what. Yeah, Yinzer, absolutely. So I mean, Pittsburgh is just playing out of their mind right now. Here's the thing that scares me is Crosby. I don't remember him in his 13 years ever playing this dominant in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, he is just playing on another level right now. In Malkin, both of them have never played to their capabilities at the same time in the playoffs, and they both are right now. I mean, they are outscoring the Flyers right now 18-6, and 5 of those Flyers goals were in one game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. Like, do we remember when Pittsburgh was like fighting for a playoff spot in December? Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Like, how did the rest of the NHL look at the Pittsburgh and go, oh, look, they're fighting for a playoff spot. Let's make sure that stays that way. No, let's just let them continue to be great. Oh, yeah, God, it bothers me.
Well, yeah, and obviously,
and I hate Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. I loathe Philadelphia. I loathe the Flyers. But oh my gosh, it's just getting annoying. So, and I'm not a Capitals fan. So,
yeah, and I understand. I really because I look at it as being a Steelers fan looking at the Patriots. You get so annoyed,
right?
So I understand. And it like I said,
but you're not mad.
No, I'm not mad at all. I'm not going to complain at all. But it's scary for the rest of the league, I think.
Yeah. So, well, 3 teams going for to advance tonight. You got potentially trying to advance tonight. Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, and Nashville all up 3-1. All those games tonight. I personally do believe all 3 of those teams do win tonight, and they do advance and move on into the second round. Tomorrow, though, is an interesting one. You've got Boston trying to go to 3-1 over Toronto. The Capitals trying to even the series with Columbus. And then the Devils trying to stave off elimination in Tampa Bay, up 3-1. I love my Devils. They're here a year too early, and Tampa has gone all in with the trades they made at the deadline, and I just don't see them advancing at all. So,
yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it was cool to see David Putty at the game the other night from Seinfeld.
That was pretty fun. Yeah, pretty awesome. I'm sick.
I was like, wow, that's impressive. But I agree with you. I think Tampa Bay, they have been one of the teams to beat all year, and the Devils kind of just their first round matchup. That's a good way to put it. They're a year too early. They're playing against the team that a lot of people since the beginning of the year have picked to go the whole way. So
right. Yeah, and it's a tough series for me. Like, I mean, I grew up a Devils fan. I love them. I got my Jesper Bratt jersey because I decided to go away from Nico Hischier and go with the other rookie. For my sweater this year. But then at the same time, Tampa Bay head coach John Cooper is a Hofstra alum. Like, he and I are went to the same school. So, I mean, I kind of got to root for him a little bit there, I guess. But, I mean, I really wish it wasn't them eliminating the Devils. Anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting here. I don't know how you felt about going into this series. I felt like Toronto had the best upset potential of any team in the first round. And the way two of those games have gone, at least with the Bruins winning, I don't know how well the Leafs look that way, if they look like they have the ability to do that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I actually picked them to beat the Bruins in this game. In this series. I really thought they had a great chance, but I agree. I mean, they have not shown any promise for that to happen. Boston, at the same time, though, Boston has surprised me. In those first two games, I did not think. I mean, 12 goals in 2 games. I never thought the Bruins had the capability of doing that.
And then I guess the real big question is, I mean, the Capitals, who have been arguably one of the most cursed franchises in terms of playoff success in the NHL, to come back from down 0-2 and to get that huge, monumental win against in Columbus on Tuesday in double overtime. I mean, that's a huge confidence builder for them, but is it enough to carry them through the rest of the series?
Yeah, I've always said, and people, you can disagree with me, but I've always said the OT wins in the NHL playoffs are one of the biggest game changers, the biggest series changers, and it's crazy that all 3 of their games have gone to overtime. I mean, that's just, I'm sure that's happened before, but that's a lot of hockey. I mean, they've played literally an extra game because of that. I still pick Washington in this. I think that's enough for them to overcome. I know that they have that chip on their, that monkey on their back, whatever you want to call it. That I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see them in the playoffs. And so many people are like, "Are you kidding me? Why don't you want the Penguins to play them? They always beat them." And I said, the Capitals are a good team. They're bound to beat the Penguins one of these years. So I'd prefer not to see them.
All righty. Well, so we got some fun games going on this weekend. What else could happen over the next week? We'll be right back. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left on the show, but we'll talk our bold predictions for the weekend. Coming up, he's Matt Coyne. I'm Christian Eimel. You're listening to the Cheap Seats on the Public House Media Network.
This is Katie, co-host of Coffee with Keith and Katie here on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Coffee with Keith and Katie, where we talk about the adventures of our daily lives and relationship. A new show comes out every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Coffee with Keith and Katie. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
You know that you're a video game that has transcended pop culture when a rapper makes a remix specifically for your video game. Bone Crusher, Never Scared, Madden 2004 remix. Which, by the way, I do think that Madden 04 soundtrack is the greatest soundtrack in video game history. That I don't think is up for debate, but
I had a mix of it in my car all the time.
Was that 04 had, was it the Anthem, and it had Ocean Avenue, I think?
Yeah.
And then there was one other one. What was the Bubba Sparks one?
I was thinking that too. I can't think of the name.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so, of course, we're paying homage to the best sports video games in history here this week on the Cheap Seats. Christian Eimel filling in for Baxter Colburn, who's on vacation in sunny Mexico. He'll be back next week, though, I think, maybe. He might decide to stay there.
He might not. We got 30 inches of snow up here this past weekend. He may never come back.
Like, I live in Iowa, and we got a dusting of it, and I'm annoyed. Like, that's just
we broke records left and right. Yeah, we got 30 inches. That's why I told him. I said, you'll never want to come back here.
Yeah, no, that's just not okay. So we're making things happen here. Matt Coyne, of course, here as well. Don't forget to go to our Facebook page, The Cheap Seats by Public House Media, and decide on our poll question, which sports video game was the biggest snub in our draft? Was it MVP Baseball 05 or Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey? I don't know how that one's going to go. I really do feel like a lot of people are upset about MVP Baseball for some reason. But it wasn't even the best baseball video game. I mean, Backyard Baseball. I'm sorry. Backyard Baseball.
I was just going to say, I don't even consider. I only played it maybe once or twice. I never owned it. I was never a fan of it.
I mean, I remember Triple Play 97 on the computer. Tony Gwynn on the cover of that. That was awesome. That was great.
Yeah.
Played as the Florida Marlins in 97.
And I even go back to like RBI baseball, bases loaded. Those are better than MVP. So
we'll see.
You know what?
Here.
It's the heart speaks. With
exactly.
This, so.
Exactly. Because I mean, listen, I don't care what anybody says. Like Mario Golf to me is still one of the best games ever. So I love Mario Golf. All right. So time for our bold predictions here for this week coming up. Matt, I'm gonna let you take over here and go first.
All right. So this weekend, I'm going home here because I couldn't think of too many bold predictions for this weekend.
Okay.
The Pirates and the Phillies play each other the weekend series, as well as we got obviously the Penguins and Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Pittsburgh will sweep the city of Philadelphia this weekend. So obviously there's only going to be one Flyers-Penguins game, but I am calling that the Pirates will sweep Philadelphia. And again, the western side of the state will prevail over the eastern side.
All righty. Okay, then. I think the Penguins obviously will sweep, I think, but I think Philly ekes out. Is Arrieta pitching this weekend? That's the biggest question. If Arrieta pitches one of these games, then Philly might have a shot. So who knows?
I don't see on Friday, Saturday. They don't have the pitching matchup yet for Sunday.
They haven't announced it yet, of course.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. He actually pitched yesterday.
That's right.
Him and Tyon.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're right. Good call there. So okay. Alrighty. I'm gonna go because the NFL draft is about 6 days away here. I'm gonna go really out of the blue crazy on this one. I am going to predict here that the Cleveland Browns trade the number 4 pick for the number 2 pick with the Giants and take Sam Darnold and Saquon Barkley 1-2. and I'll do one better.
This is bold.
The Patriots trade up into the top 15 and draft Baker Mayfield as the replacement to Tom Brady.
Wow.
There we go.
That's some bold picking right there. If that happens...
I love Baker Mayfield. I don't care what anybody says. I love me some Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, you've always been on the Baker Mayfield fan, so I respect that bold prediction.
So, and he would, oh my goodness, you imagine him actually able to run around like a mobile quarterback in New England? Oh, good Lord, it's not even.
People
fair.
Won't know what to do.
I mean, that's why I think they will draft Lamar Jackson, but I'm going to predict that they go up higher and get Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
If the Jets don't do something stupid. So, all right. Well, it's been fun, Matt. I appreciate you letting me hop on here on this Friday. It's been a lot of fun here with you.
I'm glad you could join.
Yeah, of course.
It has been.
It's been a lot of fun. Of course, go to our subscribe, rate, review, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spreaker.com. Check us out on thephmedia.com, where you can also, by the way, buy some Cheap Seats gear. Maybe you can buy some Cheap Seats gear and put like your video game logo on the back and send it to us or something like that. I don't know. Show us how wrong we are.
Great.
Go to our Facebook page. Check us out. The Cheap Seats by Public House Media. Tell us which sports video game got snubbed. Was it MVP Baseball 05 or was it Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey as well? Matt, I know you're all over the social media and whatnot because you have kids and you like to show everybody off on them. How can people find your love of your children?
Well, at Facebook at Matt Coyne, and I just joined the Twitter sphere.
Ooh, look at you!
At Coin
Fashionably
Toss
late.
1. Yes, just a little late.
Coin Toss 1. I like that.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah.
So how do we spell that? Because it's not COIN, obviously.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. It's COYNE Toss 1.
All righty, and you can find me at Chris Heimel, ChrisHeiMall. Been a lot of fun here on the show this Friday. Baxter Colburn is back next week. Don't forget, you can catch the Cheap Seats every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. NFL Draft Week is upon us. And on Monday's show, John Lauder and I will be speaking with Mike Leslie, WFAA in Dallas, about what the Cowboys plan to do and how Big D is handling the NFL draft preparations. It's going to be a fun week. We appreciate you guys joining us here as well. For Matt Coyne, I'm Christian Heimel. So long, folks. It's been great having you up here in the Cheap Seats.